Robbie Williams has had a reptilian encounter. Guys, it is getting just so weird right now. It's almost ridiculous. Not to mention that in the last 24 hours, the United States government just registered the domain name alien.gov and aliens.gov. What's that for? Is something coming? Are they planning to unveil a new knowledge to us soon? Who knows? But we've been covering reptilians, lizard people, and their recurring encounters that seem to specifically center around people in Hollywood. And we can now add another one to that list, and that is Robbie Williams. I'm going to show you guys a clip that surfaced today from a Melbourne radio station in Australia of Robbie talking about his encounter. And we're also going to weave together a couple of threads that I think connect, that are interesting, and that perhaps tell a little bit of a bigger story. My name is Josh. Welcome to Polarity. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. We upload videos or we're live streaming pretty much every day, digging into all of the weird stuff going on in our world. So if that sounds like your kind of jam, scroll down and hit that subscribe button.
Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
All right, so just before we get into this clip here, I want to say for maybe anyone who doesn't realize that Robbie Williams is no stranger to talking about UFO encounters. He's actually been out to Skinwalker Ranch with Jeremy Corbell, with George Knapp.
Yeah, I guess that the only thing that stops me from going, hey, I'm a full-on believer, is because of what other people think. If I'm honest, I'm just sat here, contemplating what my motives are. It's like, I believe there's other stuff there. I've said it. I always try and qualify that with, but I'm not sure because I might be crazy, and don't worry about me. I'm just an idiot, But, I do believe, and hence why I'm here.
He's spoken openly about his own UFO encounters. I believe he's had at least 2, and we're talking about like giant-sized craft that have gone over his head. We've covered these a long time ago on the channel. But here he is in the last 24 hours in a radio station in Melbourne, Australia, talking about a reptilian that he saw face-to-face. Let's take a look at this clip.
Let me tell you this, right?
Yeah.
Take of this what you like.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was in bed with a woman, and that's it. That's the end of my story. No, I was in bed with a woman, right? I'm lying on the pillow, and I'm looking at her face, right? Her face turned into what I could only describe as a reptilian.
A lizard.
My face went, oh my God. She looks at me and she says, I'm not a reptilian. Boom! Take it, make of that what you will. That's what happened.
Short clip, and obviously the hosts who are just like total normie. I think one of them is an ex-football player. Like, there's no follow-up questions. There's no digging any deeper than that. What's interesting, though, about that clip is he says that he had this encounter when he was laying in bed with someone. Now, he doesn't really get explicit, no more details than that, but it is interesting because we've heard from many other people who have had these encounters that these type of shape-shifting phenomenon, or where people's faces appear to change, it is such a common theme that it happens when these people are having some kind of intimate moment together, sometimes even when they're climaxing. Now, we've covered the Billy Corgan story on the channel where he saw what we believe to be Tila Tequila shapeshift twice.
You still standing by it?
Absolutely. I know it happened. In fact, it happened twice. And I will say that the story is even more fantastical than you think.
Wow.
Can you give us something?
The person was naked.
Wait a second. Were you in bed with the shapeshifter?
Jeffrey Epstein survivor Juliette Bryant claims the same thing about Jeffrey Epstein, that his eyes changed, his face looked demonic when he was orgasming.
And then I saw these huge black eyes like this, which is like almost like the devil.
We also covered Lil Tony on the channel as well, a rapper from Atlanta who got brought into these guys with all this money and all these fast cars, who claimed they were connected to the Illuminati, and he saw someone's face change.
Face change, gang. In front of me, you see Venom? Like Spider-Man?
Yeah, from Spider-Man.
Kind of like that. It wasn't like OD, like long, like the veins OD long out his face. It was probably about this wide. Like face changed. I'm like, what the?
This is another short clip that we haven't shown on the channel before, but it's Britney Spears having a similar encounter.
I have a friend at home, and he randomly sets me up with people every now and then on dates, and it's just awkward because there's so many times that you meet people and it's just like too awkward.
Why? Because they have an idea of you that you're not, or vice versa?
Well, I will say there's been 2 dates that have been kind of cool, but other than that, it's too much. It's like I went with this one guy, and he looked like a lizard. Like, I was so scared. Like, he was sitting there, and I turned him, I was like, oh my God. It's like, holy shit, he looks just like a lizard, and I had to go.
So what I find interesting about this is that it kind of sounds like a laugh track is put over the top. Britney Spears, at least, is showing no signs of it being a joke, and she's definitely not a comedian. And I think if you were to watch her tell this story without that laughter, it wouldn't really seem like she's telling a joke. Like, there's no real signs of her joking here. And, you know, you might argue that maybe that's just her comedic style. I don't know. But considering all the other people in and around this space who have had similar encounters, and also the state of Britney Spears today, this clip from about 10 years ago, I wouldn't be surprised if there was maybe some truth to it. As wild as some of this stuff is, and it is hard to believe that there are reptilian, lizard-like people in our society walking among us, right? I get it. But what I also find hard to believe is that all of these people are all having the same hallucination. They're all suddenly seeing reptile-like features, and there are more than this. We've covered more on the channel, and I'm sure there are many others who have never spoken out. But what's really interesting is that they all seem to be connected in some way to Hollywood and the entertainment industry, which we know is critical when it comes to brainwashing, mass mind control, and programming people to believe and think a certain way. I think all of this is broken down perfectly in this short clip here from Jordan Maxwell.
The whole human race is being misled by alien life forms who have come here from another place, who are smarter than we are, technologically superior, just way down the road, smarter than you'll ever be. And they know how to run civilizations, and they know how to start religions and governments. They call the shots because they have powers we don't have. Human sacrifice is a very powerful, real, legitimate, not of this world magic. And those people who are running Hollywood are connected to things you don't know anything about. And they have the power now to manipulate the world with motion pictures and television.
Who's orchestrating that in Hollywood?
All of that is being orchestrated out of Hollywood, but it's not because these people are so clever and resourceful and talented. No, they are connected to a power that is not of this world.
But can we put a name to that higher power?
Well, I call it the spirit world.
Is that the archons?
Yeah, the archons. Yeah.
And the Muslims call them the jinn?
Yeah, that's exactly right, the jinns. And the Christians call them demons and devils. The Jews call them a different name.
So they are spirit beings?
Yes, they're spirit beings. And they're
not physical?
Not physical. They're spirit beings. They can work through reptilians.
And some reptilians and other alien species are physical and some are non-physical.
That's exactly right. But you need to understand that there is all over the earth a domination of the human family, of humans, by extraterrestrial or other world entities that you can't see.
He says there you can call them demons, people call them jinns, reptilians. There's all these different names for them, but at the end of the day, these are just negative, interdimensional, spiritual type entities that are latching onto people. And that these elite families, these upper rings of society, absolutely believe in and potentially worship. Not all of them, but some of them. And this is where we get to Epstein, child trafficking, satanic ritual abuse. And it feels like this new knowledge that we seem to be moving towards, this awakening, this shift in consciousness, learning that this is part of your reality, that this interdimensional extra layer to our world is here and influencing us. Like Carl Nell said, non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity for a long time. This is not new. I think these are the kind of things that he is talking about. And someone else who has rubbed shoulders in Hollywood, who has openly spoke out about the fact that when he got there, he discovered that the whole place felt like crazy town. I think Mel Gibson sees this too, and he explains it in his own words here.
Why are the big realms of good and evil, and they exist? They're as real as we are. Why are these realms slugging it out for the souls, the hearts and souls of mankind? Why are we the meat in that sandwich? Little old us, flawed us, imperfect us. Why? Why is that about us? And I'm trying to answer that question. I don't know if I can. I've attempted, and maybe with God's help and with image and with sound and music, we can deliver on some answers to some of those massive questions, these existential questions.
So Mel's asking the question there, why are we important? Why are these forces of good and evil slugging it out for mankind? Sorry if you can hear that banging, by the way. I believe it's because, as many people have said, like Bob Lazar and other people who have been in the know, claim that we are containers, we are vessels. And I think that we might be vessels for the interdimensional realm. And the thing that animates humans and the thing that separates us from animals is that realm. And I think depending on how you live your life, whether it's through altruism, with love, the amount of love that you hold and how you treat other people, I think people who are lying, cheating, stealing are going to be susceptible to these negative, dark energies entering their mind and in their body. And I think the people that we see in the Epstein files, child trafficking, satanic ritual abuse, children, this is like the ultimate manifestation of evil. And these are other realms where we start hearing about people seeing shapeshifting happening, the eyes going completely black. These are the people dabbling in ritual and the darkest of the dark. And it almost feels like they are the full 3D manifestation of evil itself. But of course, I believe in polarity, and I think that there is an other side of that. And I think when you live graciously and positively, you do become imbued with a light. And I think this is all just a spectrum of that. I think humans might be some kind of vessel or conduit to the extra dimensional realm. And that's why humans are special. That's why we're important. That's why another species hasn't come here and just wiped us all out, because in a weird way, we are them or they are us. And there are probably many different versions of them. And I think in a weird kind of roundabout way, that theory does actually answer the question to what Robert Bigelow could have meant in this famous quote. And remember, Robert Bigelow is a millionaire who spent loads of his own money investigating the phenomenon. He is famous for the recently leaked Bass report of Bigelow Aerospace and has kind of mysteriously gone silent ever since. Take a listen to this.
I met with Bigelow. I got contacted by him in 2009. And I don't think I was ready for what he told me at the time. And then, quite honestly, I don't know if I'm still not ready.
What did he say?
Well, it was funny, actually, because he talked about the complexities of disclosure. He reached out to me through his secretary. I still have the email. And they said, Mr. Bigelow wants to congratulate you on a job well done for I Know What I Saw. And that's cool. I looked up Bigelow and I kind of knew who, I was like, oh, wow. Would Mr. Bigelow like to get together? Yes, he would, actually. And so we arranged a time where I would go to his house. And this is like 2009, probably. And we had lunch together at his house in Las Vegas. And he starts telling me about the complexities of disclosure. Do you understand, kid? Like, the implications, and they're so vast, impacts on organized religion and this and that. And I honestly, I hadn't really thought of the complexities of disclosure. And I was like, yeah, cool. And he's talking about that. And then he goes, yeah, and they're walking among us. And I said, what? And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, I mean exactly that. They're walking among us. Now, I think I took that and I put it in the back of my head because I was like, you know what? That's just crazy. Like, you got to be kidding me,
They walk among us. What could that mean? Maybe we are them, they are us. Maybe some of us are, some aren't. Maybe that's why disclosure is so complex. Maybe that's why the talk of genetics and human hybrids is a bit of a taboo topic when it comes to UFO disclosure, because how would people react if we found out that a certain group of humans who looked just like us actually had more reptilian DNA or some other kind of DNA that gave them an unsatiated hunger for children? I do believe that the Epstein files, in a way, is part of this new knowledge. It's part of an unveiling, because one thing that always stuck with me was when Carl Nell said the problem with disclosure is, first, we need to unlearn what we think that we know. And if the Jeffrey Epstein files wasn't a big dose of unlearning, I don't know what is. But who knows? I'm going to keep thinking about this kind of stuff. I'm going to try and see what I think fits and what connects together. And I will always just be honest and tell you guys as it is. And, if I'm wrong about something, I will always put my hand up and say, we got that one wrong. I have no problem theorizing about this kind of stuff, as wild and out there as it may be, because it comes from a good place. And I think when you know that you're rooted in a place of love, you genuinely have nothing to fear. The only thing that you can fear is the perception that other people might have of you. And when you can let go of that, you're free. You are free. So I would encourage all of you guys to think about that and don't be afraid to speak up. If you think you can see something going on in the world that is wrong or that is important, that needs to be spoken about, don't let the fear of what other people think about you stop you. As long as you know it comes from a good place, I think you should speak up and do it. Short video today, guys, but whenever these reptilian encounters come up, especially in Hollywood circles, I'm always going to be documenting them because I just think this whole story is so fascinating and so weird. I hope you enjoyed it. Get in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Like the video while you're there. Be good, be kind, get outside, touch some grass, and I'll see you all very soon. Peace.